con- consequences, and other similar factors all together come together to basically figure out what action that we need to take, and that whole process we what we call as moral reasoning. But moral reasoning, like any other decision that we take, it does not happen in an instant, right? There is a certain process or basically pipeline that works to decide on what action or what right or moral or good action that needs to be taken. So let's just consider, like, take a step back and look at this pipeline of how we come up with an action given any scenario that we face. So let's take the example of that lost wallet here as well and put ourselves in the shoes of the decision taker basically. So we begin by analyzing the scenario that we see, okay, we found a lost wallet, right? And then we might think of all the different actions that we can take in the scenario. That is, maybe donate all the money to some charity or find the rightful owner and then return the wallet. And then based on all the different options that we have, we select one, whichever we think is like the most right thing to do for in our minds. And that action can be right or the moral thing to do, or like someone might also want to like keep the money for themselves. So that can also be like the immoral thing to do. And that action, whatever we selected, leads to some consequence, right? Now, all of this process tells us something about the action as well as the action taker, such as what influences the action taker's decision choice. For example, here, like the whole process was driven by empathy and honesty of the person since they selected to return the wallet. Now, this choice of correctness, like someone can also could have selected like donate the money to charity. Now, while that action might not have been necessarily immoral, but it is just different. So, what we want to imply here is that the choice of correctness is not always singular. And especially when we talk about people coming from different communities or maybe people who speak different languages, they can look at the scenario in different lights. So that is why in our work we focus on multilingual moral reasoning so that we can capture the plurality of moral reasoning. So to basically understand what do I mean by plurality, let's just consider this example. So this is the same scenario but in English and Hindi. So in the scenario is that you want to eat your food in front of a friend who is basically fasting. So now, if you give the same scenario to people whose native language, like native language is English, as compared to native language is Hindi or maybe Arabic or something, there might be different or varied decisions that people take. For example, someone might want to eat their food considering their own hunger at a priority, or someone might want to respect the person who is fasting because they may relate to them on or on a religious level maybe, and then decide to like pack their food away. So while both of these actions are moral to say, but they are just driven by different values. For example, the English speaker might focus more on individualism, whereas the Hindi speaker might focus more on being pure, basically. So, to capture this pluralism and the entire moral reasoning pipeline that we discussed, in a way that NLP researchers can utilize, or in a computational way, we propose the UniMoral dataset. So, UniMoral is basically a multilingual dataset that contains crowdsourced labels from native speakers of the languages that we use, and the labels that are present in this dataset span the entire pipeline of moral reasoning that we discussed, from the scenario analysis to the consequence. So basically, this data, it contains 6 languages. And for each of these 6 language, we have a parallel list of 488 moral dilemmas. For each dilemma, we show the annotator two mutually exclusive action out of which they select one action based on whatever they feel like is the right thing to do. Then for that action, the annotator also mentions its consequence, like What would happen if they did, like, if they went ahead and did that action? The annotators are also asked to give Likert based ratings between 1 to 5 for their preference of ethical frameworks and contributing factors which affected their decision. So now, when I say like ethical frameworks and contributing or influencing factors, the question comes, what do I mean by that, right? So by ethical frameworks here in this data set that we have, we focus on four systems of reasoning. So like there are multiple systems of reasoning which the psychologists have recommended and provided. So we take the four most popular one, which covers like the whole whole outline of all the reasoning systems. So we consider these four systems of reasoning, which basically guides a moral decision. Like, does the action taker want to follow rules, or do they want to do something which results in doing good to most? For example, if we consider that lost wallet scenario, if a person wants to donate the money to charity, so while donating the money to charity would do good to most of the people, like because charity would have many people involved in that, while giving the wallet away to the owner might do good only to that one person who is the owner. So the two school of thought there basically depends on the type of moral reasoning they want to employ, like whether they want to be deontological, that is follow, they want to follow rules, or they want to be more like utilitarianism, where they want to do good to the most. So that is what we want to capture in our UniMoral framework, and we ask the annotators to give a Likert based rating. So give a rating from 1 to 5. Like 1 signifies that this particular system of reasoning did not affect their decision that they took for the action, and 5 represents that this is the reasoning framework that affected their decision. And similarly, we also have ethical frameworks where, similar to ethical frameworks, sorry, we also have contributing factors, which are basically the aspects that influence our decision, like emotions, legality, or even relationships of maybe the people who are involved in the dilemma or just ourselves. So, as I mentioned, annotators give a Likert based rating for each of these frameworks and factors to justify why they selected the action. And finally, we also ask each annotator to answer standardized questionnaires, which tells us which moral and cultural values they prefer. And they also give their self description as one line of free text. Now, again, what do we mean by these moral and cultural values here? So, in this work, we consider Height's moral values, which are basically a set of 6 values. And similarly, for culture, we consider Hofstede's cultural values, which again are a set of 6 values. So these values, they determine how much each of the aspect of, say, morality or cultural affected or guide an individual's judgment of right and wrong. So, for example, a person who values loyalty more, which is a moral value in Height's list, if they value loyalty more, they might lean towards helping people from their own group. Or a person, if you talk about cultural values, tends to avoid uncertainty. They may stick more to rules and protocols than someone who is fine with some uncertainties. So these are like the 6 moral and cultural values that we consider, and there are standard questionnaires that are developed by Haidt and Hofstede themselves, which ask general questions to people, and based on their answers to those questions, we can compute scores for each of these moral and cultural dimensions. So we do that. We, for each annotator, we show them the questionnaires, the answer, then we calculate their moral and cultural scores. So these scores, along with the open text self-description that the annotators provided, makes up for the annotator's identity, which we will use in our experiments. So basically the data looks something like this. where we have scenarios and the corresponding possible actions. And then the annotator has to answer which action they prefer, and what would be the consequence of the action and why they selected that action. This why is basically answered by giving ratings to which ethical frameworks they tried following and what factors influence their decision. Finally, we also get the moral and cultural value scores and a self description, all the three, which together makes up the identity of the annotator, as we discussed. Now, while the scenarios and the possible actions are synthetically generated, the action selection process is crowdsourced from native speakers of the six languages that we talked about, the six languages that are present in the dataset. So this LLM generation, the synthetic generation part, it basically constitutes of two types of instances. One is psychologically grounded, and second is scenarios that come from Reddit. So the psychologically grounded the scenarios, those are constructed by prompting an LLM to generate systematic variations of some seed scenarios. Now, these seed scenarios are basically the scenarios which are already used in established psychological theories. So, these scenarios, they are basically guaranteed to generate the moral reasoning process in our brain. So, we use these seed scenarios, we generate systematic variations used by prompting LLMs, and and the Reddit ones. The second type of scenarios, the Reddit scenarios, they come from real life Reddit posts from relevant subreddits. And at the end, we rephrase all these scenarios, the psychological and the Reddit one, to follow a standard structure throughout. And then we also have some actions associated with each of the scenario, two mutually exclusive actions, which are also LLM generated. And then we do the crowdsourcing. That is, we show these scenarios and actions to different crowdsource workers and ask them to annotate. So now our crowdsourcing effort, we collected data from over 60 countries, and the aggregation of moral and cultural value scores from the standardized survey led us to see the differences in values preferred across the globe. For example, we saw that individuals originating from Mexico and Kenya, they tend to favor authority more than the individuals from other countries in our studies population. Similarly, individuals from India and China, they tend to make decisions which are more likely to be based on achievement, success, and efficiency by favoring the masculinity dimension. Further, we also saw that speakers from different languages, they prefer different ethical frameworks and contributing factors. For example, Spanish speakers in our population tend to be least deontological. That is, tend to follow rules. Did not really put a more uh, weightage to following the rules, whereas the Hindi speakers follow rules the most in our studies population. Similarly, Arabic and Hindi speakers tend to value sacred values more, and the speakers of other languages in our population. With these annotations in place, we wanted to analyze if an LLM is able to mimic humans in selecting the actions or selecting the preferred ethical frameworks or identifying the contributing factors to decision making, and whether it can generate consequences for a selected action. And when I say mimic, I mean that if we provide the identity information like the moral values, cultural values, or self description, can an LLM answer like that individual? So basically, to begin with, we test LLMs to select an action based on the scenario and identity information of an individual. Then we also ask these LLMs to also identify the preferred ethical frameworks and contributing factors. And finally, the fourth analysis is to see if LLMs can generate consequences of a given action for a scenario. We evaluated three models on three primary evaluation dimension, which is basically language specific, where we wanted to see how does the moral reasoning performance of models differ with change in language. Second, in contextual cue specific, that is, we wanted to see how does the different contextual cue or identity information here affects LLM's performance. And third is the source specific performance, where we want to see if the LLM performance relies on the source, that is, whether the dilemma is coming from the psychological theories or coming from Reddit. So for the language specific performance, here we are just showing the aggregated results over models and for the four tasks. And as expected, there is a difference in the model's performance for different languages, which basically highlights that there's an imbalance between moral understanding of certain languages, most of them which are the non-Western languages, like Arabic, Hindi, or even Chinese sometimes. For the contextual cue specific experiments, we analyze the effect of different identity information, right? So we aggregate scores over models and languages and see that explicitly providing the moral and cultural scores that we got from the surveys are it made less sense to an LLM when we compare it to giving like the free text self description or few short examples for the different tasks. This result highlights that LLMs may extract more structured or nuanced information from the self description and past patterns that are maybe not captured by the moral and value scores explicitly. Finally, the last analysis that we did was to see how the source affected the LLM performance. So we separated the results for psychological and Reddit based dilemmas and aggregated the scores across all languages and models. And we observe here that for all the psychologically derived scenarios, the LLMs consistently perform better than the Reddit based dilemmas. Now, we believe that this is due to the fact that psychological scenarios are self contained with all the context that is required to understand the dilemma present in the dilemma itself. Whereas for the Reddit scenarios, they might be noisy, ambiguous, or even like culturally biased, making it like a harder task for an LLM to reason like humans. So basically, to conclude here, we discussed how we can generate a computational pipeline for reasoning and we for basically model reasoning, and we propose UniMoral, which is a multilingual dataset that captures the complete pipeline with systematic annotations for each phase of that reasoning process. And our initial analysis show that the current models may not understand moral pluralism in depth. And we believe that this dataset, the UniMoral dataset, can help bridge this gap in future research. Thank you so much. And you can find much more details and a detailed results in our paper. And yeah, I can take some questions now. Thanks.
Thank you, Shivani, for your wonderful talk. And now we'll open the floor for questions. If the attendees have any questions, they can drop their question in the chat section.
Yeah, I guess we do not have also much time. So I had one question. Just I wanted to know. So this data set that you are talking about, this unimoral. So you have this is publicly available, right? So you have made it public. Yeah, and so all the experiments that here you are doing is with pre-trained LLM, right? So you want to kind of see that whether. So do you think, like, since you have the data set, so do you have any plan to do fine tuning with the data set to see that what are the kind of challenges that you are seeing that can be overcome with that kind of thing? So just as I wanted to
Yeah,
ask.
that's absolutely the most correct question to ask here. So yeah, we are actually currently doing that fine tuning process with like a multitask framework or a single task frameworks as well. And yeah, we are in the process of identifying that the nooks and crannies, like what all is missing, still missing in the complete pipeline, how we can improve that.
Yeah, I had just this question, and the reason I asked for the fine tuning is that did you compare? Like, do you think that with the in context, with the few shot learning or in context learning, can you kind of mitigate the situation? What the in the pretend like if you used without any kind of context, just give the instructions and then the model behaves. That's what you have evaluated. But if you give some samples like with the few shot, so can you overcome that, or like the fine tuning has more benefit than that? So I was just curious about that. Have you done that kind of any comparison?
Yeah, we tried that. So we have like few short results in this
Okay.
particular paper, but the fine tuning process, we did try it on the llama, which is present in this paper as well, and we saw like huge improvements over few shot. So yeah, so I guess like fine tuning really like does wonders here.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for
Okay.
the.
Okay. Thank you, Shivani, for your time to present in our symposium.
Hmm? Thank
Thank
you.
you. So we have our next talk by Shubham Kumar Nigam. He is a PhD student at Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, India, and he's going to give a talk titled "NyayaSutra: Enabling Reliable and Interpretable Legal Judgment Through Structured Thinking." Over to you, Shubham. Welcome, and you can start presenting.
Hey, hi everyone. I hope I'm audible and my screen is also visible.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So yeah. Thanks for this wonderful opportunity to explain this talk. And this is the project still we are working on it. So we are currently in the phase in the legal AI field where everybody wanted to know how these black box models are giving the particular outcome, because this is a core domain, one of the core domain legal domain, medical domain, and financial domain, where people wanted to know exactly why this outcome and how this outcome is coming out. Okay, so let's begin with the motivation, why I started this journey on the legal AI. So as of now, many people know about more than 50 million cases are pending in our Indian legal court system, and around 60 to 70% of time, this legal professional spends time on the manual search. So in the rise of the LLMs enables automated reasoning, explanation, and document generation as well. As well as we need to make a model to transparent, verifiable, as well as also Indian context aware legal AI systems. So you can see this is one of the example from the Indian court system. You can see this is a no paragraph heading, no arguments, no legal issues, no final judgments. They have the page after page and totally unstructured document. So it is very difficult to come up with the solution. So one people can ask what is the exact difference between legal text versus non-legal text. So as I can already showed you, this totally unstructured and unorganized data set, and very quite long, like sometimes hundred and thousands of the pages of the long documents. There's no standard notations available to make the legal document for drafting purpose, and it has own country specific challenges. I will tell you some. Even lots of abbreviation and punctuations are available, and we can't directly apply the standard NLP tools to the legal text as a it is not a trivial task. So one people can ask, can you give us some examples? So if you use the NLTK standard library to use as a stop word for the boundary, it result many incorrect parses. Like in the left side, you can see total 71 words as a total number of the words it is showing. And one more example, like if you use NER Tiger, it also gives so many false positive results. So if you are Indian, so you can understand like a phrase like Life Insurance Corporation of India is a single entity. But if you use this Stanford NER, it gives three different entity. Like life is a person, insurance corporation is an organization, and India is a location. So we need a specific tool for the Indian specific data and needs. So, exact challenge, if you wanted to understand what are the exact challenge in the legal AI specific, so it has a one problem like explainability, because legal decisions require each point to be explained. Otherwise, legal expert will not rely your outcomes by the given by the models. And they don't want the high performing AI system. They want like explainable or interpretable models. Also, if AI systems start deciding anything, it may be hard to intervene manually. So we need to govern all those AI generated models to predict anything or generate anything. Similarly, privacy and security issues are also here, because how much and what data is needed to particular task is also not defined in this domain. Also, who is responsible if data is leaked or misused? Because nowadays everybody is using their own AI chatbot. So if the data, private data or sensitive data is leaked, so it is very difficult to backpropagate or uh, secure all those data. Similarly, in the Gen AI era, how to determine if data is generated by this AI model is real or fake? And Biasness and fairness, of course, it is a common problem for all the like core domain. Like if data is biased or unbiased or unfair, it is like AI application tend to be the same or not. It is very difficult to understand and verify. Similarly, I already told like India specific challenges because most of the AI system which is available in the space are mixture of legal structure from multiple countries. So we can't directly apply here. And data problem because we don't have the structured and annotated data set to train the any of the supervised task and model. So we to make provide the annotated data, we have to annotate. It will take so much time and it is very expensive task. Okay. So at the end, what we want, like case is structured, which has some meta information like who filed the case, who is the petitioner, who is respondent, who is the judge, date, everything. And then we need the case is text, which has all those section information and the citations. And at the end, we need the judgment with the proper explained outcome. So these are the areas what I worked on, like explainable judgment prediction, where we predict likely outcome by of the case and explain the reasoning behind of the case. Semantic segmentation of the documents, where we break down all those lengthy document into meaningful sections. Fact-based judgment prediction and explanation, where we only focus on the core facts while arriving at the decision, which improves the realistic scenario and improves the trust. Legal question answering, which provide the answer to intricate the legal queries for assisting practitioners or students for the and also the general public also. Legal document summarization, one of the most common task in the legal AI space, where we want the long document and summarize into the most accessible way. Apart from that, we also worked on some other tasks like prior case and statutes retrieval, where we identify the similar cases and relevant statutes given the facts. And catchphrase extraction or NER task, where we wanted to detect the key terms or parties or legal entities in the document. And we also made custom legal LLMs, where we train the large language model on domain specific text like Indian legal text to tailor for some which also has the Indian knowledge and legal insights for the specific task. At the end, we also worked on the document generation, where we deal with the draft contracts, MAUs, bills, all kinds of documents. Okay, so come to the point of the NyayaSutra. What is NyayaSutra? So it's the AI systems for structured legal reasoning, which supports judgment prediction, argument generation, legal drafting, and many more things. So how it is working? Like we use here hybrid retrieval methods as well as GRPO-based reinforcement learning methods, which outputs the stepwise explanation with the thinking token. So which improves the trust and also improves the transparency of the model's outcome. So how it works? So it's still in the submission working phase. So I'm not going to deep of the each of the uh, uh, working block, but giving the overview, it's like giving we are taking the legal question as a query, and we retrieve the most relevant uh, cases as well as the statues using the semantic and keyword waves like BM25 as well as the vector database, different vector database, and we combine all those keywords and then retrieve the information and then re-rank all those information, and then we provided to the all those relevant document via the relevance models to the reasoning model, which provides use the llama 3.2 train on the llama 3.28.8 billion models, and provides the issues, petitioner response and arguments, so that users can see based on what the model providing the outcome. So if the model overlook or it also give using the wrong information providing the information, so you can correct it, and you can also see, okay, based on that it's providing the answer, so it is not reliable or it is more reliable. All those things you can see and you can look. So it is the some core uh, explanation or how we deal with this task. So I'm not going to deep on this because it will take time. But overview, if you see, we have 16 million high court cases and Supreme Court cases, central statutes, state statutes, all those things we have. We use as a IR system. And for reasoning model, we have around 16.6 thousand annotated in the legal corpora, which has segmentation like fact, issues, argument, reasoning, decision, which we will take as a training, as a fine tuning, as well as GRPO training, both. And for thinking token, we use the legal interpretability, which also gives the stepwise decision making, like issues, all those things, as I told you earlier. And in the end, at the end, we also use provide the legal outcome as well as reasoning. So okay, so those who like wanted to know what is the GRPO thing, so I wanted to explain a bit so that things can be more clear. Like it is a reinforcement learning method which use programmable reward functions and optimize model behavior without extensive human feedback. So you don't need like each answer's feedback so that model can understand as a reward. And the mechanism is very simple, where we samples multiple candidates responses, other than unlike to the earlier one which has one samples per response, and all scores output using the group average reward as a baseline. I think most of the people know about now GRPO thing. And the advantage is like it eliminates the value network and reducing the memory and stabilizing the training part. So that we also have the lower computational cost, and this is the very ideal condition for the legal reasoning task. So at the end, in the NyayaSutra, we have the train the step-wise reasoning model to produce the transparent legal analysis systems. Okay, so what we have, so it has the system capabilities to explain the judgment prediction, explanation task, balance the argument generation so that people can know and understand all those things, and it also fact to map them with all the references, like what could be the previous similar cases, what are the statutes applicable for this particular scenario, so you can cross check all those and validate all those results by the models. And it also is scalable for the legal AI for the all the Indian judiciary systems. Okay, so people can also know what is the impact on this. So it reduces the legal search time for the professionals and also enhance the main thing is like trust via the transparent reasoning. So our mission is to democratize the legal assistant part and potential integration into the legal search tools and legal aid systems, all those systems. So, for example, I'm giving you one of the case scenarios where it has case, facts, issues, all structured information is already given, and this is the our tool. So I'm giving you one of the screenshot of the our one of the input. So in the left side, you can see giving the case. This is the case. You can see this is the thinking. The matter involves the following issues. All these issues are given, and this is the petitioner argument could be, so it is also given here. And in the right side you can see all those outputs are there, like based on the given input we can consider following. So right side you can see all those outputs are there, and left side you can see this is the issues, argument, petitioner's argument, as well as the respondent argument is also there. So yeah, so all those information is there, and the right side is the outcome, and left side you can see all those reasoning behind all those outcomes. So in conclusion, we have the NyayaSutra, which bridges the gap between the black box model as LLMs and the need of interpretable legal reasoning in India. So which combines the AI techniques with domain-specific rigors, which builds for the scale, for trust, and for the justice. So key takeaways in this talk is the legal AI is not just for the automating tasks. It's about the elevating the legal ecosystem for faster, fairer, and more informed decision-making systems. Yeah, thank you everyone. I'm happy to take the questions.
Thank you, Shivam, for your talk. And we have now opened the floors for questions. If any virtual attendees have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat section.
Okay, in the meantime, maybe, yeah, we cannot see any questions at this point of time. Maybe in the meantime, I can ask some questions. So, yeah,